Hey, good Saturday afternoon, and welcome back. If you were with us last week, you know we had Armstrong Williams on, and we have that up on Facebook. We also have it up on weekendappointment.com, so if you want to listen to the actual recording of that, feel free. It was pretty interesting, so I just thought I'd mention that right off the bat. What else is going on out there in the legal world? Well, I heard Bob Durgan yesterday. Seems like Bob may be in favor of gay marriage, best I could tell. Which kind of surprised me because I thought Bob always seems to come down on the opposite side of things as me. But lo and behold, I'm going to hit him up on that. And I am going to be filling in for Bob next Thursday. He's taking some time off. And so on Thursday from 3 to 6, I will be on the Durgan Show. And, of course, while I'll take your legal questions, as I'm going to do here for the next 2 hours, I will probably get a little more into politics and craziness. And, oh, there's Art in studio, too. He's just a workaholic. Shane's screening somebody right now. Art's standing behind him, pointing at something. It's hard to say what those guys are doing in there. Talk line number, if you want to have a legal question answered, here is 540-0580, 540-0580. You call in, we'll get you here on the air, and we'll answer your question, whether it's about divorce, personal injury, whatever you think you got. And if you're not sure if you have a legal case, it's probably a good idea to call in, and we will go over it with you and see. Dave, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Yes.
What's going on?
How much? Is this Carl?
Yeah, you're on the air, brother.
Oh, yeah. I 5 years ago, I had a son-in-law who, my daughter and him always said if I decided to sell my motorcycle, they wanted it.
Okay.
Well, I got injured and I couldn't ride it anymore, so I called him and said that, if you're interested in it, I'll let you have this at a decent price. So I dropped it down. I had it for sale. I dropped it down $1,000 and said, let's have it for $1,800. They said, well, we'd love to have it, but with our daughter getting married, just can't afford it right now. And I said, well, when you get the money, give me a little bit of the time until it's paid off. Okay. So they come and got the motorcycle. They never paid anything on it. Back about a year ago, my daughter said, I feel so bad about this. She gave me $500. I said, we'll try to get the rest paid to you. I said, okay.
So how much more do they owe you right now?
They live in Clarion, Pennsylvania.
I mean, how much more do they owe you? How many more dollars?
$1,300.
$1,300. So they gave you $500 down or $500 towards it a year ago, which means your statute of limitations is going to be 4 years from the last payment, so you still got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But the long and short...
I didn't know if I could just write him a letter or if I should have an attorney write him a letter saying, hey, he just up one day and walked off when my daughter left her and said he wanted a divorce.
And where's the motorcycle at?
He took it.
And who's it titled to?
I guess his name is on the title.
Okay, you transferred it to them for the title.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to sue both him and your daughter, probably, if you wanted to ultimately sue them. But you could write him a letter. But you have 4 years from the date of the last payment when they acknowledge the debt to do that. And if she's in a divorce, she could use the divorce court to assist with getting that back as well.
Oh, well, yeah. She's they're in the middle of getting a divorce now. She's, I guess, talking to an attorney, and I had run it by her. I said, should I write him a letter or something? She said, absolutely.
Yeah, you can write him a letter, but you should jump in with her divorce attorney, perhaps, and see if they would assist with getting it back.
Okay.
It's not unusual. All right, brother?
All right, thank you.
Go get your motorcycle. Yeah, see, that's what happens. 540-0580. Joe, you want to talk about a deed transfer?
Yes.
What's going on?
Got a question for you. And thanks for taking my call. I expect you to be there on a holiday weekend.
Well, you know what happens is I think about that and I say, should I go in and do it or should I just play a rerun or not? But I figure people's got their problems don't go away because it's a holiday.
Well, that's true.
And it's not exactly. It's a little bit of a gray day. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's not like I'm missing the last sunshine of summer here.
I agree. I'm a single individual. I own my house. I want to transfer the deed in my children's name.
Okay.
Can you put provisions like I'm allowed to live there till upon my death?
Yes, we would put what's called a life estate in there, which basically says you still own it, you still control it, you can still Lay around on the sofa all day if you want, decorate it any way you want. Basically, you're like the leaseholder of it, but upon your death, the remainder belongs to your children in equal shares.
And could I also put in case I would get remarried that my wife could live there?
We could certainly put such a restriction in a deed, yes.
I didn't know if there's a limit on restrictions and that. And I have like 4 children, and I was going to put it just in my son's name because the other ones are married, and I don't want, if anything happens in their marriage, that the husband...
gift...
It's awful to say that.
But I got you covered on that one, too. Under Pennsylvania law, a gift from a parent or someone else to a child does not automatically become marital property.
Oh, it doesn't.
Does not. So you'll be safe there, and you don't have to worry that your one son forgets about everybody else.
Well, he wouldn't do that, but
that's what everybody says.
Yeah. Not my family, right?
Not my family. Never.
No. So even if I put it in all their names, I would have to be concerned if any of them would get divorced.
No. If they get divorced, and let me put it this way: just because you put it in their name, their remainder interest really doesn't vest until you die. So if something happened in the meantime, who cares? But if you do die and their interest vests, the kids are probably most likely going to sell the house, right?
Well, that or maybe one of them would want it because 2 of them rent. And the other
so one of them have to buy out the other guys anyhow. Yeah. And then if they wanted to donate the money to their marriage, they could do that. Or if they wanted to keep it in a separate account, they could do that.
I mean, they seem like solid marriages, but anything can change overnight.
Well, right. That's why I always say
I don't want my them to get. I want my kids to get the house, not somebody else.
Right, and that's why the law is that way. So you don't have to worry about. Now, let me give it to you this example though, and just while we're talking about it, so other people know. If you inherit $50,000 from great granddaddy, and you decide to, remodel the marital home, then that inheritance is going to become marital in nature.
Right.
If you put it in an E-Trade account and don't put it in the marital E-Trade account, then it never becomes marital property.
Oh, I see.
All right?
That makes sense. Thanks a lot, Carl.
All right, my friend. You take care. Have a great holiday weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's right. It is a holiday. Darko.
Yes, Carl.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Thanks for taking my call. I have a DUI question for you.
Okay.
Basically, I was arrested and charged with a DUI roughly 16 months ago.
Okay.
It was my first offense. I never had any serious crimes or, for that matter, basically just tickets. And I got accepted to the ARD program. And basically what I was told is once I complete my ARD program and all the requirements, that everything will be expunged from my record.
Right.
Okay, and this past July 21st, I transferred my car insurance policy from my parents into my name. And when my insurance guy ran a background check, he said my charges were still on my record.
Then here's what happens. Here's the rub. When you get ARD in Pennsylvania, they expunge all the criminal records, all the courthouse records, but PennDOT gets to keep it for 10 years.
Okay.
And it shows up on your driver's record. So that's the dirty secret of ARD.
Okay, I was not sure because he said my license suspension is still on the record, and I was just wondering, if that kind of defeats the purpose of the ARD program.
It does, except that generally people don't have access to it.
Right.
So that portion of your driver's record, law enforcement can get, and anybody you give consent to can get. But my point is, yeah, it's not out there in the world for the world to see, but it's going to still screw up your insurance and otherwise be on your driver's record so that when you're pulled over another time, the guy goes, oh, I'm looking at his driver's record here on my computer in my squad car, and he has a DUI before, so I'm really going to check him hard again. So, yeah, and that's something I try to explain to all my clients is that expunged doesn't mean really expunged in Pennsylvania until the 10 years is gone.
Oh, wow, okay.
But again, you can't go to the courthouse and find out anything, and an employer really couldn't see it unless they got your driver's record for some reason.
That was my next question, see if employers can actually check that as well. Only
if you give them consent to get that portion of your driver's record.
Okay, so as far as the insurance guy, he's okay, because I kept arguing with him saying that it's expunged, that affidavit and everything, but...
Yeah, he's got you, because PennDOT holds him for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
On there. All right, my friend, I got to go to break.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate the call.
All right. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. I think I'm going to be in trial in Lancaster next week. I'll keep you posted on that. That's that case I wasn't allowed to talk about, remember, so I can't tell you what it's about. But if trial happens or it gets finished, I'll get back to talking about it. 540-0580. See you after the break. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. 540-0580. That's our talk line number. We'll get right to the caller board here. Keep calling. We're going to be on till 3 o'clock this afternoon. So if you got the question, you're driving around, or you want to go look at a document before you call in, whatever you need to do, we're going to be here for 2 hours. So keep calling. Mick.
Yes, Carl. Thanks for being here this weekend.
Hey, thank you.
I called a couple times a couple months ago, and I discussed something in the middle of the day. I have somebody in an apartment complex, and I got evicted. They said it was too cluttered, so they want to evict me, and I lost my temper, and I was put in a hospital for a few months. And they're still charging me for the electric bill and for those months from October till February. So
what month were you actually evicted?
October 18th, and they cleaned out my apartment, I guess, a month later.
So theoretically, you shouldn't have to pay for December, January, or February at least, right?
Right.
I would get a copy of your eviction notice and send it to the electric company and say, hey, put it on the landlord. But the answer there is the electric company is going to say we probably never received notice that you were out, and the landlord should have done that, right?
Right. That's the thing. You say that I didn't get called, but I didn't think about it. I was in the hospital, so I didn't get a chance to call.
The other thing you could do is sue the landlord in front of the district justice for the difference on the electric bill.
Huh.
All right.
Okay, and they got rid of all my stuff while I was in the hospital. Do I have any recourse on that?
Yeah, they shouldn't have thrown out all your stuff. They should have given you a chance to reclaim it, so you might want to just throw that in the same lawsuit.
Oh, okay.
All right, brother. Good luck.
Go to the DJ and...
Yep, fill out the civil complaint form. It's not landlord-tenant anymore. It's just going to be a standard civil complaint form.
Okay, great.
All right, Mick, good luck. Happy holiday, man. 540-0580. Bob.
How you doing?
Good, man. What's going on?
Well, I have a right-of-way question for property.
Mm-hmm.
We bought approximate acre and a half lot off of about 112-acre piece that was originally a farm. We have a deeded right-of-way across part of the original 112 acres to our piece, and the owner of the 112, or the other part of the acreage, has a small portion that crosses the corner of us right away onto his other property.
Okay.
This has changed hands about 3 times since the original, well, twice since the original owner. The property owner now is giving us a problem as to improving the right-of-way. It's on a hill that's fairly decent steep, and it's washing out, and every time we go to try and open it up so the ice and water and stuff doesn't stand in it or do anything at all to it, he wants to complain about it. What is our legal options?
Well, and you're saying it's a deeded right-of-way?
Yes, it is. He has, on our deed, it shows he has a deeded right-of-way across us. On his deed, we have a deeded right-of-way across him.
Gotcha. Generally, you both are responsible for the upcare and maintenance of a shared right-of-way like that.
Okay.
And he really can't stop you from doing it. Sometimes you like to enter into a more formal agreement as to who's supposed to do what for the right-of-way.
Yeah.
And what the standards that's supposed to be maintained to are, and that way everybody's clear. But a lot of these old right-of-ways, it basically just says, hey, you got a right-of-way, and they got a right-of-way, and it's not even made out in metes and bounds.
It doesn't define it, and that was the second part of my question. How do we go back? It's an old, like I said, it was an old farm, and back in, when they were farming it, it was just wide enough for a tractor and a wagon or something to go up. And we have since improved it with a 2-story structure, which is worth quite a bit of money. And quite frankly, it's not really that accessible by fire equipment or like oil trucks or anything like that we need to get into the property.
Yeah. Usually what we do in a case like yours, just give you the rundown here, is I would approach the other side by letter and say, hey, listen, we want to enter into a more defined right-of-way agreement. And to improve the value of both properties, let's agree to widen the right of way and make it such that it would meet basic, what I call modern code, so to speak, and allow for the ingress and egress of emergency vehicles and the like, and then put together, how's it going to be maintained, what kind of surface is going to be expected, etc. Almost like a private road agreement, basically. If the other side says no, you can go to court, and a judge in the court in equity can actually lay it out with more distinction based on historical use and needs of the parties. Okay. So,
what would if we would take it to court? Approximately, what would that?
That's the tricky part. You're looking at least a few $1,000s in litigation, sometimes as much as 5 or 7. And the other issue is we might have to get a surveyor out there as well.
Well, our property itself was recently surveyed within the last.
Yeah, well, the surveyor probably wouldn't be there to survey the actual coordinates, but instead to diagram for me, the existing right-of-way. Yeah. And then later, if the judge wants to move it or straighten it or do something and put meets and bounds on it, then we probably need somebody to lay that out as well.
And the third thing that I wanted to tell you was this is not in Cumberland County. I know you're in Cumberland County. It's actually in
we go everywhere.
It's actually Tioga County.
Tioga, well, that's really north. But we can do that. We can do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I want to go up and see the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah. Right. It's not far. He hasn't been. How do I want to put this? He doesn't really want to talk to us about anything concerning the right of way. He's very. He wants to maintain his property in a sort of pristine nature, and he doesn't want anybody on it. Doesn't want anybody going through it. And this has crossed him, and he gets upset every time we do anything.
Well, and that's and the appeal to a guy like that is why don't we just define it so that you can now know what the exact parameters you can enforce are, and if he doesn't want to do that, you drag him to court, and then hopefully his lawyer sits down with him and talks him into a resolution. I mean, most of these cases, quite frankly, resolve when both sides are lawyered up and the two lawyers sit down and go, okay, let's just figure out what the defined rights here are, and now let's figure out a way to make it work for both sides.
Okay.
All right, Bob.
All right. Thank you, Carl.
Hey, thank you. You absolutely have remedies available to you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions here on the holiday. Yes, we're open for business. Sue.
Hi, good afternoon.
What's going on?
I have a question. Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute. What happened was about 3 months ago, I signed a contract with an RV park in Ocean City, New Jersey.
Okay.
About 2.5 weeks later, personal reasons, I'm thinking not a good idea. Called the manager who signed the contract with me, and gave a little background, and she said, well, I'm new to this park, not in the business, but to this particular park. I'll have to check, with the main office, find out what we can do, if anything, to refund your money. And they may hold out a small amount, blah, 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 blah. I said, listen, I appreciate this. I don't care, what it takes. Just, let me know if there's any way we can get out of this.
Right.
Well, several days later, she called me back, and she's willing to, to stand up for what she was told, and was told that, yes, they would refund my money, all but probably a small amount for administrative purposes. She said, but it may take several weeks. They're slow in making these kind of refunds.
Right.
Well, I called back several weeks later to the home office, and they told me that they were not going to refund the money. And I said, well, wait a minute now. The person that I entered into the contract with, in good faith, checked on this for me. We went on with the rest of the plans for the summer based on that answer. And now, you guys are doing a 180.
Right. And here's my dilemma. Mm-hmm. This all happened outside of Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
I can't tell you.
I can't get a lawyer in. There's no way we have to go to New Jersey to get a lawyer?
Yep. Got to go to where the contract is and apply.
Okay. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but, I figured, it's the whole background of the situation. I admit we signed the contract in good faith. I did what I was supposed to do as far as contacting the person I entered to the contract with, trying to see if we could get out of it. And now she said we could after she checked with the home office, and then they reneged on it.
Right.
And said no way.
But of course she conditioned it, didn't she? She didn't say yes. She said probably yes, but let me check with the home office.
And then she called me back and said they said yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And now it's like, and she, even though she was new, and I said I know this put you in a pretty bad situation. She said, no, I know what I was told, and she's willing to, stand up for what she was told.
Right.
And her company knows this, but, that didn't matter.
Yeah, and like I say, you're going to have to get a lawyer in New Jersey to sort that out.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. And I don't even want to speculate, because if I speculate, odds are that New Jersey law might not even apply. Now, it just so happens that two of the guys in my office are licensed to practice in New Jersey.
Okay.
So they could help you out, and that's Steve Snyder and Eric David. And Steve does a lot of property use issues. The question is whether it's going to be worth your while to pay for that or not. But if you contact my office, and the phone number is 241-6070.
Wait, 241-6070.
And that's in the 717 area code.
Okay.
Or in the 717, as we say. So if you call, Steve Snyder would probably be the guy you want to talk to.
Yeah, I prefer to deal with somebody here.
So, I'm not New Jersey, but I happen to have two guys that are cross-licensed. So there you go.
That works.
All right.
Thanks so much.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
Let's see here. 540-0580. I'm going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll talk with Jamie and George. Hey, welcome back. Just answering your questions on this fine holiday weekend. Get your hot dogs cooking, I guess. 540-0580. Jamie.
Yes.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I got you loud and clear.
Awesome. I have a quick question. Back in 2009, I had a plumber do some work at one of my properties. The tenants live there, so I didn't go there, so I arranged for this to happen.
Uh-huh.
And about 2 weeks later, the tenants called me and said, when is the plumber going to finish the job? And so I went over to take a look at the bathroom, and the plumber had busted a great big hole in the wall right through the tiling to fix some type of leak in there, and never came back and finished it, didn't put the knobs on, didn't do anything. I contacted them about the issue, got nowhere with it. He says, if we have to do additional work to this, we have to reorder tile, we have to do this and that. Pretty much left it in a condition where you couldn't use it. So I went in, did a quick fix and everything else, and I sent the pictures to him. Nothing ever happened. Recently, I just got a civil complaint from a DJ that he's charging me $500, plus his lawyer is going to represent him for $500. So I have a civil claim against me for $1,000. And I took all the pictures I possibly can, and I did everything possible with the exception of having someone come in and give me an estimate of how much it's going to cost to have it remodeled after the damage, which I'm in the process of doing. But again, this happened back in 2009. I know there's like a 4-year statute of limitations for this, but what are my options here other than explaining to the DJ what happened and show him the pictures?
That's basically your option. Your other option, however, is absent a contract that allowed for attorney's fees, there's no reason why they can get attorney's fees. So that's your other defense as well to the second 500. Show me where it says I had to pay attorney's fees. The good news is after you talk with the DJ, if you win or you lose, either side can appeal to the common pleas court, and they'd have to start from scratch. So go to the DJ, explain your situation, argue why you didn't pay, argue why you don't owe attorney's fees, which is because there's no written contract requiring it, I hope. And when that's done, if you lose, appeal it and start from scratch. And then they have to go forward, and nobody wants to go forward over $1,000 in a common pleas court, I hope.
Okay, because, the civil complaint says breach of contract, and I didn't sign anything.
Well, we have oral contracts, but the law is very specific that in order in a construction or other type of basic contract dispute, there's no such thing as attorney's fees unless the contract itself called for it. And rarely are you going to have an oral contract that includes attorney's fees because one side's going to claim that wasn't in there and one side's going to claim that it was. So we like to see that in writing.
Okay. And if I were to win the outcome of this and get someone to come in and give me an estimate for remodeling, and the damage was done, do you think that I ought to turn the table on this? And
yeah, might as well countersue.
Yeah,
if you got to go to court, right?
Yeah, so it's only fair. It's for someone to do this back in 2009. It's just I'm calling foul on the whole situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's 2009 till now, you're still within the statute of limitations, so you don't have that defense.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
All right,
it.
brother. Good luck.
Right.
Oh, that's no fun. 540-0580. Nothing like garbage from the past. George.
Hey, Carl. How you doing?
Good, man. What's going on?
Well, I'm going through a divorce now for the past since 2008. I've been separated and been paying a significant amount of spousal support. No kids are involved. It's all just plain, just spousal support.
Right.
And I just had another hearing where she came after me for an increase in the amount of support, and she was awarded a significant amount of additional money. And what's kind of irritating is, all the debt was in my name. The marital debt's in my name. I actually filed Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and I've got that plan going on. But it doesn't, domestics don't even consider my expenses, when coming to a conclusion on how much I'm able to pay and support. And now I did read something in the PA codes that under certain circumstances, the assets and liabilities are to be considered when determining that.
Correct. That's more the exception than the rule, though. And you're going to find that most support courts will simply run your income, look at your net post-taxable income, and they don't care if you have an $800 bill for rent each month. They don't care if you have an electric bill. They don't care about that because they presume in the support guidelines that you have all the normal expenses that a human being has.
Okay, so would be no. It wouldn't do me any good to appeal this and to take it to court because the whatever they call them, caseworker or counselor, whatever they call them.
Correct.
Yeah, they just do just that. They punch in the numbers, take a percent of the difference, and that's what you pay, bottom line. Although they do make you fill out the income expense sheet, however, both instances that I was there, they never even looked at it. It's like, well, why even have me fill this out if you're not even going to consider it?
Yeah, welcome to the other favorite joke amongst the lawyers, which is, why do we make those poor people fill those things out? Because they spend all the time on it, and then it just gets thrown in a file, and nobody seems to care. And the answer is, it's kind of an exercise in diligence. The only time we really care about that expense sheet is when we have a self-employed person.
Okay.
Or if you have an extraordinary expense. I mean, I'm not want to be trite about it, but the answer is, for the most part, support court, child support, spousal support is not going to be expense-driven in any way, shape, or form, except in the rarest of circumstances. And so you should always start from the presumption that if you run the guideline support amounts based on net after-tax income and filing status, blah, 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 number of children, et cetera, that number is going to be pretty close to what you're going to get, generally speaking.
Yeah, they don't care if I'm, forced to live out of a daggone box.
No, the government doesn't care. And here's the answer. The federal government hands down these requirements to the states to get, support straightened out in a certain way. The state uses their data to get it sorted out in a certain way. And at the end of the day, if they have too many non-conforming support orders or whatever, then they don't meet their magic numbers. They don't get their funding. So it seems to me that the whole system's kind of just designed to stick you in a little shoebox and forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. I know the first hearing I went without an attorney, based on, recommendations from a friend of mine, said it isn't going to matter whether they're there with you or not. They have their formula, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, when I talked to my attorney helping me with the divorce case, and he said, yeah, that's pretty much true, but it's probably a good thing to have one with you. So, okay, I paid the fee for him to come with me this time, and didn't make any difference at all anyway. So it was just he got his money. I mean, he's a good guy, don't get me wrong, but it didn't make any difference at all. The outcome was the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, yeah, I just didn't know. I did find some information in the PA codes. I forget which section it was.
Yeah, you're going to find it, and it's actually, if you go in the PA code, the portion that has the Pennsylvania Rules of Civil Procedure, we'll talk about all the different variations you get. Now, here's the dealio, though. It is good to take a lawyer to those hearings for two reasons. One is there are some hearing officers that, for whatever reason, may favor one side over the other and not give you every available out you might have.
Okay.
Number two, I'll give you a really classic situation. You walk in and you've got, I don't know, you're averaging, let's say, 20 hours of overtime a month. But you're telling me, hey, I can show you, I'm not getting that overtime anymore going forward. We got a new guy and a new sheriff at the office, so to speak, who's scheduling things better so people aren't getting a lot of overtime. And the answer is, I'm not getting it anymore. Well, I would come back to them and I would say to you, well, let's get a letter. Before we go over to that hearing, get me a letter from your new manager that says that the overtime policy's changed and you can't expect to get 20 hours anymore. So I might be able to get them to use a different base guideline amount because I use a different base salary amount for you based on how I've set it up. And that's where a lawyer can really help you, is massaging those things in the right direction where the hearing officer, and worse, if the other side shows up represented, the other lawyer is not going to help you out.
Yeah, and she did have, she was represented by her attorney. Yeah, the other thing that kind of got my goat was the hours that she reported as her year-to-date income. She works full-time, however, she's not working full 80 hours,
right.
So the year-to-date income didn't reflect that. And I was trying to, and I got to talk to my attorney about this to say, okay, there's over a $3,000 difference here if you take her hourly rate times the 80 hours biweekly that she should be working. Now, if she claims that, her hours have been cut, can't we then demand we get some type of proof from her employer that, such and such time we had to cut back hours and get that in writing? Can't we demand that?
You could certainly demand it, whether or not it's going to be considered to be, how am I saying this? The fact finder is free to believe some, all, or none of anything anybody says. So if it's not in writing, but they believe it, then it doesn't matter. If it's in writing and they believe it, well, it's in writing. But the short answer is you can also take a hearing, and then, they've got to bring the evidence forward. And that may be a self-serving statement, and a lot of judges might want to say, okay, show me some proof of that.
Yeah, because if she's not, getting her full earning potential, then I'm, a little frustrated I get penalized and she gets more out of my pocket to compensate for her lack of motivation to work a full 40-hour work week.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
All right, brother, I got to go to break, but I think you got the gist of it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate your time.
All right. 540-0580. When we come back from break, we'll talk to Mark and Gail. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions, 540-0580. Still not missing the sunshine because it doesn't appear to be out there. Maybe somewhere out there in listener land you're getting some sun, but the clouds do seem pretty ubiquitous today. Mark, you're on WHP 580. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
I entered into a verbal agreement with a gentleman about 2 years ago for a sale of a property, trailer on a piece of land, and he wanted to buy it on a sales agreement, right?
Okay.
I said, okay, let's sign the papers, let's do everything. Well, we got to wait for that because, I don't want to do that yet, right? So he paid me half-assed. Like he was late more than he wasn't on the payment. We agreed verbally it was going to be 8.5% in 5 years. Boom, you just pay me the rest of the money, and I go on my way, right? Now, he's moving away. He built a garage on the property, and he says I owe him the money for the garage.
Well, let me ask you this question. You guys reduce anything to writing?
Nope.
Okay. And theoretically, he's paid you some money, but not all the money, right?
Absolutely not.
He's not paid you any money ever?
Yeah, he paid me, but he didn't pay me for the last 6 months living there.
Right, but he paid you some of the money, but not all of the money. That's my question. Right. Okay,
yeah,
just say yes. Or
Yes.
if you say no, he's not paid you any money, at a certain point, I'm going to say you may not have a contract at all, right? Because we have something called the statute of frauds. You can't sell land. You can't sell land without a writing, okay? Listener land, listen to this. There's no such thing as a oral contract for land.
Okay.
However, the courts have said that where the dum-dums, no offense, do an oral contract for land and money changes hands, we might go ahead and say that, well, okay, we're not going to just throw you out of court on your ear. We'll talk about whether or not you actually had a contract for the land because money changed hands.
Right.
So that's why it's real important that some money, that's why I asked you that, okay?
Yep. He's
All right.
paid sometimes.
All right, so you got some of the money. So we'd have to figure out what your exact contract was. But as for you owing him for the garage, the short answer is he put improvements on the land. You guys probably didn't have a term in your writing since you didn't have a writing as to
do it.
Well, right, but you didn't have a term as to what the improvement might or might not, whose value it would be.
Nope.
But it does go with the real estate, and to the extent that he owes you for a breach of contract, the garage would be an offset.
Right, exactly. Because he didn't pay me for the last 6 months.
Right.
And he was late every other day. And then he don't have no money, and he goes out and buys a brand new truck.
Well, brother,
Like,
here's what I suggest you do. I'd suggest you got to clear this up somehow. If he wants to sue you, tell him to sue you so you can get it cleaned up because you want to make sure that there's no title issues on this real estate down the road.
Absolutely, yep.
All right, brother.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yep, no more oral contracts for land. Stop that. Bad, bad, bad. Gail, you're on the air.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, I guess. I have a legal question, and I'm not sure if I have an issue. 6 years ago, in 2006, I owned a business. I was injured in an accident, and I was in physical therapy for 2.5 years and could not conduct my business any longer. I had contracts that I had to obligate, and I used subcontractors to finish those obligations. And I am on disability now because I had no health care. My medical bills were over $300,000 for my accident. Anyway, I don't know if you call it sabotaged or what, by local media. And I don't know what I can do about this. To make a long story short, when they did the MRI for my injuries, they found a mass, which they removed, and it was cancerous. And not only was I having my physical injuries taken care of, I also went on cancer medication. I was supposed to be in remission. In March of this year, I was having back pains. They did another MRI, and they found out that I had another mass on my uterus, and they removed that, and they put me, I'm on medication now. To make a long story short, I was selling old equipment on eBay.
Okay.
I was selling a projector that we used to use in the business to transfer old home movies to DVD.
Mm-hmm.
I had a woman call me who bid on the projector and bought it from New Jersey. She emailed me through eBay asking me if this is a good projector for transferring film, old home movies to DVD. I emailed her back. I said, please call me because you need a lot more than a projector to transfer film to DVD. And I wanted to explain that to her. In talking to her, this was sometime in January, and explaining things, I said, there are companies out there, even on eBay, that transfer film to DVD. You might want to contact one of them because you're going to have a computer with a DVD authoring system. You're going to have a camera.
So you told her you need more than just this piece of equipment.
So anyway, this was in January. She asked me how much something like that costs. So I went in the computer. I said, well,
Gail, I'm going to make you tighten this story up a little bit.
To make a long story short, I told her I didn't do it, but there was a gentleman that used to work for me who was he was laid off from his job, and he's using my equipment to do things like this for people. He's not here right now. I don't know if he'd do your project. You'd have to call back and talk to him. Well, she got my address through email, and sometime in February, I got a box of old home movies from her at my door. I showed them to the fellow who's doing this, and I told him about the conversation, and I said I had no idea she was going to send them here. I told her what our prices used to be years ago and that you were doing it, but she'd have to talk to you. He said she never called me. He said, but I'll do it for her. He says, I don't know when I can get it done, but I'll do it for her. To make a long story short, it was once he finished the project, we're going to notify her she was going to pay for the project in full, and then he was going to send her DVDs and her whole movies back.
Right.
When the project was finished, she made out to me a check for $100. It was close to $400.
All right, you're killing me this story. You got it. Get to the very last part of the story.
Okay. Without anything, I had nothing to do with it. She didn't pay the full amount. He never sent her films or DVD back. He tried to contact her to tell her the deal was you pay for it and then I send it out. I was in the hospital.
Right.
All right? And I got home from the hospital, and my neighbor comes out, and he says, do you know that the news was here? Reporters, camera people, the police looking for you because of a complaint of deceptive business practices.
Okay.
And they did this thing. It was on the news. There was another thing. I had nothing. All I was doing was selling a gosh darn projector.
Gotcha. Well,
and anyway, the things that they printed in there were not true.
Right.
They said I was home. She was home. She wouldn't answer the door. I was in the hospital. I can prove that.
Right.
I wasn't home. But to make a long story short, I am so embarrassed now to even go outside of my house because of all my neighbors seeing that and maybe believing that was true about me. And I don't know what to do about it. And
right. When did all this happen?
The money I had before, I would sue.
When did this happen?
In June.
In June. Okay. Well, this is something it sounds like you could certainly sit down with a lawyer and talk about if people, in fact, disseminated untrue information about you.
Somebody told me if they say it's been alleged because of freedom of the press.
Yeah, the press can do that.
Say anything they want, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's not completely the answer. I'm out of time this hour. I got to let you go. Now, listen, Mike, Jesse, either hold through the break or call back in a few minutes because I want to talk to both of you guys. Listen, guys, Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. We're going to be doing it live on the air from 2 to 3, so keep calling 540-0580, and I'll be back in a few minutes.